Hello, my dear friends. In this video, we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. First, we're going to talk about the Vasilivka direction, where the Russians continue their offensive operation. As of the morning of January 19th, we have several significant changes on the ground, which are very important. According to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians, as a result of their offensive operation, managed to establish complete control over the northern part of the settlement of Velika Novoselivka. The Russians, as seen from the map changes, managed to enter the northern farms and the eastern airfield. These are the changes on the ground. Once again, as a result of their offensive operation during the previous day, the Russians improved their positions in the northeastern and northern parts of the settlement. These changes have been confirmed, at least by some mapping or defense sources. Furthermore, another video was published from the Velika Novoselivka cemetery. We will not watch this video until the end because it shows significant losses on the Russian side. This video shows us that the Russians most likely entered the territory of the cemetery. However, we do not know for sure whether the Russians managed to dig in deeper or advance further into the settlement itself. That is why we decided to mark the cemetery territory as an area covered by the fog of war. According to different pro-Russian sources, a completely different situation was reported compared to the map shown here. The Russians claim that, by the morning of January 19th, they had established complete control over the eastern, western, and southern parts of the settlement of Vasilivka. It's difficult to fully trust or believe this information. Perhaps the Russians managed to reach the red line shown on the map, and the edge of their positions aligns with this line. However, there are likely many pockets of resistance in the southern part. Most likely, in the coming days, the Russians will attempt to clear these pockets before advancing further north. The Russians reported several cases over the past 24 to 48 hours where Ukrainians tried to retreat and abandon their positions. However, the Russians claim it's not as simple as it might seem for the armed forces of Ukraine to abandon positions in the territory of Vasilivka. The Ukrainians reportedly believe they can reach the Mray River and cross it. However, the Russians claim that all such attempts will result in significant losses for the Ukrainian side. At this stage, much of this remains speculation and unverified information. We are awaiting additional updates. Some sources suggest that the village of Velika Novoselivka will likely be captured within the next several days. I believe that this settlement could be announced as captured by the Russians before the U.S. presidential inauguration, with videos likely to be published showing Russian flags throughout the village. Now, let's discuss the situation in the Kursk direction. According to the information available, the Russians managed to improve their positions along the Sudzha River. According to defense sources and military experts, the Russians are attempting to advance in the direction of the settlement of Volodar along the Ukrainian side of the Sudzha River. Over the past 24 hours, they have slightly improved their positions. While progress is evident, there is still much work to be done in this area. Let's discuss the situation in the Pakros direction. Over the previous 24 and 12 hours, there have been many significant updates, so let's dive in. Starting with the settlement of Kotlin, today, both neutral mappers, pro-Ukrainian mappers, and pro-Russian mappers reported that as a result of clashes, the facilities in the northeastern part of the settlement of Kotlin were completely captured and secured by the Russians. This is a very important position, a small industrial zone that the Russians can use as a powerful stronghold to secure their northeastern flank before advancing further in the western and northwestern directions. Furthermore, as soon as the Russians secured the northeastern flank, updates began arriving that the Russians continued attacking and improving their positions in the area of the settlement of Vok. Ukrainian sources are reportedly in a panic, claiming that the distance between the edge of the Russian armed forces' positions in the settlement of China and the border with the Dnipro region is now less than 6 kilometers. Sources suggest the Russians may attempt to take the village of Madit in the very near future, which would represent a significant victory for them. Despite the potential advance toward Madit, it's believed that before moving further in that direction, the Russians will focus on securing the settlement of Vashna. Most importantly, they will attempt to take control of the M of Pakova, a critical mine previously used by Ukrainians for their industry. Capturing this strategic point would significantly benefit the Russians. Today, there were many interesting videos from the southern part of the city of Pakros. At first glance, these videos may not appear significant, but a closer analysis reveals valuable insights. One video shows two Ukrainian soldiers moving in the southern citadel of Pakros. While this may seem unremarkable, the next video provides more context. In this footage, the same Ukrainian soldiers are seen walking along a building in the southern part of Pakros. Toward the end of the video, they are shown crossing the street and establishing defensive positions. In this moment, the Ukrainian soldiers turn westward and raise their guns, likely preparing to repel an anticipated Russian attack. Just yesterday, several sources, primarily pro-Ukrainian, claimed that the Russians had entered the city of Pakros. This information was initially shared by Ukrainian Deputy Mariana Biza. However, there was no confirmation of this yesterday. Today's video, however, suggests that the Ukrainians were retreating, possibly due to Russian artillery or mortar fire. When the Ukrainian soldiers established their defensive positions, they appeared to be watching westward, as if expecting a Russian offensive or an attempt to advance into the Pakros citadel. The movements of the Ukrainian soldiers prompted adjustments to the map, particularly in the microdistrict of Zelenivka. This territory is now marked under the fog of war, as it's expected that more updates will arrive in the next 24 to 48 hours to confirm either Russian control or presence in the Pakros conglomeration. Regarding the city of Thias, no major developments have been reported over the past 24 hours. The Russians appear to be regrouping and preparing for a large-scale offensive in the direction of Konstantinovka. Their activity here has been largely limited to artillery fire and preparations. Additionally, the Russians in the city of Tzk are awaiting the conclusion of the battle in the city of Chavar. Ukrainian sources released a video showing their forces bombing and attacking the industrial zone in the central part of Chavar. Based on this footage, no significant changes are being made to the map. However, it confirms continued clashes in this industrial area. These developments highlight the ongoing intensity in multiple regions. As the situation evolves, updates regarding Russian control, Ukrainian defenses, and key strategic points are anticipated. This video serves to confirm the extent of Russian positions, verifying that the Russians have indeed taken complete control of the industrial zone in the city of Chavar. Another video surfaced along Kavala Street, published by pro-Ukrainian sources, further proving that the Russians managed to break through the southern part and central part of the city of Tetk. They successfully took control of critical positions in the southern part of the citadel. Over the previous 24 and 12 hours, we received numerous updates from the Kops direction. On the Ukrainian side, sources published a video showing Ukrainian forces bombing and attacking the Russian troops' positions near Ivanovka. Based on this video, adjustments have been made to mark the contested area in favor of the Russians. This reflects the situation by the end of January 18th and into the morning of January 19th. Russian sources also reported continued advancements in the northwestern direction from Ivanovka. Since the beginning of January, there has been a significant concentration of operations and clashes in this area. This activity indicates that the Russians are in an offensive state, actively working to breach the Ukrainian defensive belt in this region. Their goal appears to be the complete defeat of Ukrainian forces and a subsequent advance toward the settlements of Lyman and Izium. There have also been notable updates from the Sudzha direction, with the most significant information coming not directly from Sudzha but from the vicinity of the village of Tokina. Yesterday, it was noted that the Russians were engaging Ukrainian positions along the combat contact line near the border. It was speculated that the Russians were planning a new offensive operation in this area, potentially aimed at penetrating the Sumy region and cutting off railway lines from Kiev to Sumy. This suggestion was based on observed Russian activity in the region. Today, however, an article published by pro-Russian sources reported that Ukrainian forces are regrouping in the Tokina area. According to these sources, the Ukrainians have brought a substantial number of troops to the region and are planning to launch a full-scale offensive operation. The first stage of this offensive is reportedly to take control of the settlements of Kaktabi's Vina and Tokina. If successful, Ukrainian forces intend to introduce the 47th Mechanized Brigade and advance further northward. Pro-Russian sources speculate that the Ukrainian offensive aims to disrupt Russian plans for a counteroffensive in the Sudzha direction. This move would force the Russians to redeploy additional forces from Sudzha to Tokina. Just before this morning update, reports from reliable pro-Russian sources confirmed that Ukrainian forces had initiated another offensive operation. Ukrainian troops are reportedly utilizing significant numbers of soldiers, armed vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, and artillery. Details about the precise location of the offensive remain unclear, but it is likely that more updates from this direction will emerge throughout the day.